What's up, everyone? Welcome to Season 2, Episode 7 of the Patel and Kumar Show. I'm your host, Shiva Patel, coming to you live from San Antonio, Texas. And my co-host, Mr. Kumar, coming to you live from Mumbai, India. Oh man, we have such a fun show planned for you today. We're going to do a quick recap, give you all the all-star coverage. We're going to review all the teams, starters and reserves, give us our teams, the snubs, and we have a lot of Indian basketball news to get to. I know Mr. Kumar is really pumped about that because there's a lot of great stuff going in Indian basketball. But how are you, Mr. Kumar?
I am doing absolutely fantastic, Mr. Patel, and thank you for that welcome note. And as he said, we're going to be having a very exciting show, of course, discussing about the All-Star selections, the All-Star games, the snubs, and of course, a very important news coming out of India, the revamping of the national championships. And of course, we're going to also review the India's games. They played in the qualifiers for the FIBA Asia Cup against Lebanon and Iraq, and also discussing a little bit about the NBA India's association with Prasar Bharati. So we have an exciting show, Mr. Patel.
Woo!
So let's get it started.
Yep, let's get it started. Let's talk about our first segment around the association. So we're going to be talking about, the NBA games are really starting to heat up. We're getting closer and closer to the All-Star break, 1 week away. And after the All-Star break, we're getting closer to the postseason. But we want to show the standings, real quick first. Right now, the Utah Jazz are playing really well. The Lakers, they got a nice win, against the Portland Trailblazers the other night. To snap a 4-game losing streak, Mr. Kumar. So how do you think the Lakers have been playing, without Anthony Davis? And what are your overall takeaways and observations?
Oh, well, of course, they were also shorthanded by, Dennis Schroeder not being there for the 4 games. He was injured as well. So so that really snapped that losing streak. But I think, there was a lot of debate about the minutes that LeBron is logging in at age 36. And, but at the end of the day, he knows his body much more than anybody else. I think he was also not playing that great, especially shooting just about 20% from the 3 in the month of February. So I think, they will have to make those adjustments. But getting Anthony Davis back healthy is the primary concern. And once he comes back to the lineup, I think, this team is the team to beat. So, I think they will hang around in that second, third position as of now. But Utah Jazz, man, they've been balling. They've been balling really well. And, of course, they lost to the Clippers earlier this week. And but I think that's just a small blip in the radar. But I think you got to really hand out, to Coach Quinn Snyder for taking the team to this position.
Right, because Utah's had great regular season before, but not at this level. They're playing like the Bucks did last year, the regular season. They only have like 6 or 7 losses, Mr. Kumar, and they're just shooting lights out from 3. But they're not a team like the Rockets that just relies on the 3. If they're missing, they do a great job of attacking the basket, finding the mid-range. They love to go to the free throw line. But also their defense is really stifling. So they make a lot of threes, Mr. Kumar, but they don't let you shoot a lot of threes or make a lot of threes, their opponent. So they do a great job of kind of balancing that out. And they have a lot of weapons. Donovan Mitchell is playing at an all-star level, which he's well-deserved. Rudy Gobert is playing much more free because he has security after that long-term extension. Joe Ingles, Bogdanovich. They just have a deep all-around team. Jordan Clarkson is a sixth man of the year favorite. And he just comes up chunking threes. He's never met a shot that he doesn't like. So just an all-around great performance by the Utah Jazz early in the season. But I'm not sure if I'm still going to buy them in the playoffs, Mr. Kumar. I still need to see them perform the same way coming playoff time.
Playoff is a different ball game. But the regular season could give them that confidence. But they have interior presence with Rudy Gobert. Of course, getting Derek Favors and Michael Conley has been playing pretty decent as well. Yeah. So I think, it remains to be seen what kind of performance they're going to put in, during the playoffs, because there are going to be a lot of other teams with which have much more experience, the Clippers, the Lakers. But I'm really surprised, especially with Denver Nuggets. They're having a very mixed season so far. I know Jokic has been, really performing at a very high level, but at the same time, I think Jamal Murray has not been the same person that you saw in the bubble. He's had a few great games, but at the same time, you would expect a team like the Nuggets to be probably in the top four, but they're right now in, right at the eighth position.
Right, because early in the season, the Nuggets were basically Jokic or bust. Because you said perfectly that Jamal Murray struggled. He's kind of finding his footing a little bit better, but he's still a little inconsistent. Gary Harris has basically given him very little. Michael Porter, he makes a coach sometimes. He makes these spectacular plays sometimes. But you see Mike Malone's face, like he sometimes wants to pull out his hair because he makes like some of the most boneheaded plays, Mr. Kumar. You're like, Michael Porter, what are you doing? You're third-year player. So he's still a young player, though, and he's coming off an injury. So the Nuggets are still a young team, but they're exactly still Jokic and bust. And I'm afraid that now teams are going to start scouting for Jokic and forcing the others, to beat them. And I think they won't be as successful. But let's talk about the Eastern Conference standings, Mr. Kumar, before we get into the All-Star. Of course, the Philadelphia 76ers are number one, but the Brooklyn Nets are inching right up with them. They're only like a half game before the Mavericks game last night. Of course, they lost, to the Mavericks, but they're neck and neck right now, Brooklyn and Philadelphia, Mr. Kumar.
I think you would expect the Brooklyn to be in that top three in any case. But what people are not talking about is the Milwaukee Bucks. They've had a decent season. It's not like they've been playing really bad or something like that. So the Nets are catching up. They're number two. But once Kevin Durant comes back, I think that's when you got to watch out for the Nets. And I think after that trade, people are expecting the Nets to come out of the East in any case. So it's going to be a great finals matchup, in my opinion, if it's going to be between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets.
This is a make or break year for the Philadelphia 76ers, Mr. Kumar. They've never made it to the conference finals in the Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid era. If it doesn't happen this year, it's not going to happen because they were so close. They got a lucky Kawhi Leonard shot in Game 7, but this is the year. The only team that's acceptable for the Sixers to lose to in the playoffs is the Brooklyn Nets. Anybody else, it would be a disappointment. And Shazam is saying Nikola Jokic to Dallas. Well, that will be an interesting proposition, Shazam. There's some rumors that the Mavericks are looking around for Porzingis, not actively shopping for him, but just trying to see his trade value. So that would be interesting to see if Porzingis goes to the Nuggets and Jokic comes to the Mavericks.
Shazam, I don't think the Jokic to Dallas is ever going to happen. It's just absurd. If I were the GM of Denver Nuggets, I wouldn't do that trade. But the two teams that are really surprising me in the East are the Raptors and the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks are like at 500. So is it the coach? Is it the players? And of course, Julius Randle getting his first All-Star selection as well. Which we're going to be talking about in our next section. But the Raptors had a very, very slow start, but they're coming back. They're inching back towards that third, fourth position.
Right. The Raptors have been a little bit disappointing this year, but yeah, they're coming back. Siakam is playing a lot better. I think, Fred VanVleet is, he was like a borderline all-star. He's been really carrying the load for them. Kyle Lowry, we'll see what's going to happen with him, if he's going to be traded or is he going to stay, with the Raptors. But we'll see. A lot more to come, a lot more discussion after the All-Star game. But let's move on, Mr. Kumar, to our All-Star segment. So, of course, the All-Star game is going to be a week from today, next Sunday. And it's going to be just a one-day event. They're going to do the skills challenge, a three-point contest before the All-Star game, have the All-Star game, and then do the dunk contest at halftime. And let's just quickly put a graphic on about the format of the All-Star game. So it's going to be the same as 2020, Mr. Kumar. They're going to be different. There's going to be two team captains, and they're going to pick, the different players, mixture of East and West. The first three quarters, whoever has the highest score, it's the money is going to go, towards charity. And in the fourth quarter, they're going to play to a final target score, which is going to be 24 points, representing the late, great legend Kobe Bryant. Whoever can get the 24 past 24 will win the All-Star game, Mr. Kumar.
Yeah, I mean, this makes it a little bit more competitive. You're playing for charity, so of course you would want the charity to get that particular money on winning the quarter. And you saw last All-Star game how they really doubled up on defense. In the last quarter. So so yeah, I mean, but of course the captain of one captain, that is Kevin Durant, is not going to be playing
Yeah.
In the All-Star. Yeah, I mean it's a fun format. I mean it really did a little bit different. So to make it more competitive, Bhushan Suryavanshi is saying Luka and Jokic would be Luka, Magic, and Joker. Yeah, but I don't think Dallas is ever gonna let go of Luka. I mean, not even for $100 million.
And New York Knicks are 500. The New York fans are going crazy. Yeah, there was a video circulating on Twitter outside of Madison Square Garden. They were going crazy, Mr. Kumar. And the caption on the tweet was, imagine they're celebrating like this going 500. What will New York Knicks fans do when they win a championship? Oh my God, it would be crazy. They would tear down the city. They're starving, for a winning team and a winning franchise, Mr. Kumar. Let's see if they can make the playoffs or not. But I'm very happy for like the current Madokes, the New York Knicks fans that had to, struggle and go through a lot. And yeah, Shazam has said, agree, Bhushan. Sorry to say, but Kristaps Porzingis injuries are quite worrying for the Mavs, because he's never available, Mr. Kumar.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is worrying, especially they also let go of Seth Curry to the Philadelphia 76ers. So they're a little bit shorthanded in terms of shooting as well. Yeah, I mean, the combination really worked between KP and Luka, but they just need more games, and of course they just need both of them to be fit to play, and especially come playoffs, it's going to be a little bit tough. So yeah, I mean the Mavs are still, I think, on 9th position. If the playoffs start today, they don't qualify for the playoffs. So yeah, it's going to be a very tough situation, and the West is stacked. I mean, the West is stacked, so you can imagine them to qualify so easily into the playoffs.
And even that play-in tournament is going to be, very competitive, 7 through 10. So there's no guarantee that the Mavs will be able to get into the playoffs. But let's get back to the All-Star, Mr. Kumar. We're going to announce the Western All-Star starter. So I'll let Mr. Kumar announce the starters as we show the graphic.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the backcourt, it's pretty, I mean, I'm sorry, the front court is pretty easy selection there. LeBron, Jokic, and Leonard. I think you don't have any doubts on that. The backcourt with Steph Curry. I mean, he's been absolutely great. He's almost having the same season as what he had during his unanimous MVP selection. But yeah, I mean, that Luka Doncic or Damian Lillard. There was a really good toss-up. But at the end, it's the fans' vote that matters, the coaches' vote that matters, and they voted for Luka Doncic. So Damian Lillard just missing out on being a starter in the West.
Right, and yeah, exactly. That was the biggest, controversy. Damian Lillard, I believe he should have made it on instead of Luka Doncic. As we're talking about snubs, Mr. Kumar, that has to be my biggest snub because Damian Lillard was just. He's been really balling. He's been averaging over 30 points a game. And his three, he's shooting like 45% from three, Mr. Kumar. He's shooting very high three-point percentage. He pulls up from very far. The Blazers have been playing a lot better than the Mavericks. They have a better record. But we also have to remember that Damian Lillard is doing this without Nurkic, without Zach Collins. CJ McCollum has missed a lot of games, Mr. Kumar. So he's basically been putting the Blazers on his back. So I think that has to be the biggest snub. Who do you think, besides Damian Lillard, Luka Doncic, who else do you think is a snub for the Western Conference All-Stars?
Well, I think it's but natural. I think it would be Devin Booker because look at the Suns, man. They're 21-11, and they were, I mean, although they played a great game in the bubble, they didn't qualify even for the play-in tournament.
Yeah.
So CP3 coming in and Devin Booker being himself, I think I think that was the biggest snub. Even LeBron commented that
Yeah.
Devin Booker and Damian Lillard are the most underrated players in the NBA. So yeah, I mean Devin Booker does come in for Anthony Davis, but that's only because Anthony Davis, missed. So should Lillard be named an All-Star starter? In fact, 70% of the people say that he should have been the starter. So,
Yes.
but of course, the fans and the coaches think otherwise.
Right. It's unfortunate for him, Damian Lillard. He's going to be coming off the, bench as a reserve, but I thought he should have been rewarded. He had the best, bubble last year. Going into the playoffs, he's having a great regular season, Mr. Kumar. But it's unfortunate, Luka Doncic gets the popular vote. He's young, up and coming star, face of the NBA. So I'm not surprised with Luka Doncic getting the nod over Damian Lillard, even though I felt like Damian should have been deserving of that spot. But let's move on to the Eastern Conference starters, Mr. Kumar. So this was very competitive. So we're going to show the graphic of the Eastern Conference starters. So of course, to start, it's going to be Joel Embiid. Made it for the first one. Who was? Sorry, Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo made it. Kevin Durant, which of course he's not going to be playing. He's been out due to injury. So Domantas Sabonis is going to take his place. Bradley Beal, I know there's a lot of debate about him being on a team lower than 500. But I thought he was very deserving also because he's put the Wizards on his back and they've been winning a lot more games. And Kyrie Irving, who's having a career season, career highs in a lot in assists and points. He rounds out this East starting lineup.
Yeah, I think Bradley Beal. I mean, he's a scoring leader so far. So it's just that he's unlucky to play for a team like Washington Wizards. I know they got. I mean, with Russell Westbrook in, and the last 2 weeks has been a particularly great week for the Washington Wizards, especially that comeback game, OT win against the Lakers. So Beal totally deserves to be in that starter list.
Right, and he's been doing a great job of being a leader. He hasn't sulked. He just wants to win. He hasn't requested a trade. He wants to build long-term in Washington and be there and be an impactful player. And we'll see what's going to happen at the deadline, Mr. Kumar. But I think he's going to stay, with the Wizards for now. But let's also move on. Or we have some couple questions. So Bhushan is saying Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. So Bhushan, are you meaning for the All-Star starters or the reserves? Because neither of them, made it, for this. And I thought, the Heat. Specifically about Jimmy Butler, I think, he didn't put up the numbers. He's been injured a lot this year. Bam Adebayo has been playing well, but there's other guys that have been playing better than him, like Julius Randle, among others. So I thought, those two guys deserve to be left off of the All-Star team.
Oh, well, I would still think that probably Bam Adebayo had that, he could have got selected. I mean, but at the same time, it was a tough competition. It was not easy to keep a person like him. Karan said, he said, do you think the Washington Wizards should sack Scott Brooks? And if they do, who would be a good replacement? I mean, looking at the last, 2 weeks, I think they're just coming back up. Yes, they had a horrible start. I think they were like 4-12, but they're coming back. So I think we need to wait and watch. Wait and watch whether they could probably at least qualify for the play-in tournament and see whether they can make it to the playoffs. Even though, I mean, the NBA finalists have no All-Star selection, the East has improved with a lot of stars entering the East.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a lot of stars entering the East. Of course, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. They're the most notable people to come back to the East. They were not there last season, of course. But I don't think all the other teams have gotten better. The Nets have gotten better. and Philadelphia 76ers have gotten better. But all the other teams are pretty much the same. I mean, if you look at Miami Heat, they're still lingering in that 6th or 7th position. So it's a little bit, they were pretty much ranked the same even last season.
Yeah.
It's a tough call in the East.
It really is. Yeah, the East has been a lot more competitive. It's not the Eastern Conference anymore. They got legit like three, contenders that can really go into the finals and win the finals: the Bucks, the Sixers, and the Nets. And Shazam is also asking, how important is the playoffs for Doc, given the fact that he has choked in the playoffs before? Exactly right, Shazam. It's been a while since Doc Rivers won that championship in 2008 with the Celtics. Last year was not pretty for him at all. I don't give all the blame to Doc. Players Kawhi Leonard and Paul George deserve some blame. But Doc's the leader. But you could tell Mr. Kumar, like in the games and in his post-game interviews, he's rejuvenized with the Sixers. He loves the star power with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. He's using them the right way. I love the way he's using Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris doesn't even settle for threes anymore, Mr. Kumar. He just attacks the basket, gets to the free throw line. He was even a borderline all-star. You can give an argument that Tobias Harris may even have deserved an all-star spot in the East, in the reserve. So I've just been very impressed with Doc Rivers so far. Unfortunately, they're going to run into the buzzsaw that the Brooklyn Nets. Unfortunately, 3 all-stars. So I think it's going to be tough, But Mr. Kumar, coming soon, we're going to have an NBA All-Star Game trivia. So we're going to test how well me and Mr. Kumar know our NBA All-Star Game. All the history and everything. And again, everybody, thank you so much for your questions and comments, and continue to put them in the chat section below. We're having so much fun. We love the engagement with us. And remember, you can like, share, and subscribe to the Patel Pick and Roll Sports YouTube channel. And you can also watch the show on Ekalavias and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Patel and Kumar.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move on to the reserves. We haven't talked a lot about the reserves in the West and the East. So let's pick up the reserve selection in the West. Of course, we had Anthony Davis, Paul George, Rudy Gobert, Damian Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, CP3, and Zion Williams about the West reserve selection.
So overall, I liked it. There was a lot of deserving players. But I thought Zion was a little bit of a stretch, Mr. Kumar. I know he's been averaging 25 points per game. He's been playing really well. But I thought the Pelicans have a losing record. They're like 4 or 5 games under 500. And I thought my man DeMar DeRozan of the San Antonio Spurs deserved to make it because his leadership. The Spurs are having a winning record. They're fifth in the West, and he's playing well with the young guys. So I thought DeMar DeRozan deserved that spot over Zion Williamson.
Yeah, but just to point out the East reserves, it's Jaylen Brown getting his first, James Harden, Zach LaVine getting his first All-Star selection, Julius Randle getting his first All-Star selection, Ben Simmons his third, Jason Tatum and Nikola Vucevic, who have got their second All-Star selection. But let's get back to the West. Of course, I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe DeMar DeRozan deserved to probably get selected, but it also does with the fact that of course, the Spurs have a much better record than Zion Williamson. But at the end of the day, this is more like a fan, demand kind of thing. DeMar DeRozan is always going to be that player who really doesn't, is not like a fan favorite kind of thing, because he's not flashy, he's silent, he plays his game. But Zion Williamson,
he doesn't shoot threes.
The first All-Star selection in the West for Zion Williamson, and CP3 with his 11th All-Star selection. And he's been doing a great job for the Phoenix Suns. But, of course, Anthony Davis misses out because of injury and Devin Booker comes in. But as we mentioned, earlier, I think Devin Booker has been the biggest omission in the West.
Yeah, Devin Booker has to be the biggest omission in the West. That was crazy because before they would tell Devin Booker, Mr. Kumar, when the Suns were losing, well, you're putting up these good stats, but your team is not, your team is losing. They're not in the playoffs. But now, his team is winning, and I know he's not putting up as great of a stats as he was before, but come on, you have to reward winning. But I still didn't like, I didn't think Chris Paul deserved a selection. I don't think two Phoenix Suns should have got in because Devin Booker is going to get in because of Anthony Davis, like being injured, as Mr. Kumar said. I thought Devin Booker should have just replaced Chris Paul from the beginning, and then they selected somebody else. I know Chris Paul, has been doing a lot of great things. He brought up leadership, a veteran point guard, but I still think he didn't put up the stats necessary to be an all-star. But I'm still happy, for Chris Paul. He's a great player. He has a great chance to win a championship this year, Mr. Kumar. But I thought it was a little stretch that he made the all-star team this year instead of Devin Booker. If Phoenix Sun made it, it should have been Devin Booker instead of Chris Paul. And Bhushan, yes, it was too early for Zion to get an all-star entry. I'm a Zion fan, ladies and gentlemen. I love the way he plays, the way he attacks the basket. He has such a quick second jump, like he'll miss it and then he'll just out jump everybody else and put a nice putback. He develops his game, around the rim. He uses angles really well, attacks the basket. He's a very powerful player. But I still think that you have to look at team success, and his team wasn't, doing as well as the other teams, specifically the San Antonio Spurs.
Absolutely. So which first all-time star most deserves to make the team? And pretty much a lot of people thought Zach LaVine was the player, and I agree. I mean, the only problem is he's playing like he's playing in a team like the Chicago Bulls. Of course, he's probably the lone star in that team, but he's been carrying the responsibility of that team this whole season, and he has been really balling well. He's been probably averaging high 20s so far, and he's been carrying the team. Carrying the Chicago Bulls pretty much single-handedly. So he totally deserves to be in that All-Star selection.
I could not agree more, Mr. Kumar. He definitely deserves to be. He plays an exciting game. Of course, the dunks. He won a couple of dunk contests. He can make the three. He can facilitate. He can get to his spots. He can play some defense. So I just love the way Zach LaVine's played. Unfortunately, he's playing in a big market, Chicago, the third largest market in the U.S., but they're not winning. And hopefully, we'll see if he's going to stay or he's going to go to a team that wins. But I'm very impressed with Zach LaVine, his development over the years, because he did not have a three-point shot in Minnesota, Mr. Kumar. Just the work that he's put in and the craftiness that he has. He's such an awesome player. And Bhushan, yes, Zach LaVine deserves this spot. Lakers should pursue interest in signing LaVine. Well, we'll see. They need more shooters and more ball handlers, Mr. Kumar, so we'll see. But I wanted to I just got to ask Bhushan Suryavanshi whether he thinks should the Lakers pursue Zach LaVine or Bradley Beal? Ooh, that's tough. Okay, then I have to go with Bradley Beal then. Bradley Beal is a more established player, and he's won more. But they're both great players. Bradley Beal is a shot creator. He can get the ball off his own shot. He can score off the dribble, get to the rim, shoot the three. So I think, Bradley Beal is such an impressive player. And yes, Bhushan, Zion should be in the dunk contest. So Zion teased reporters a couple of days ago that he could join the dunk contest. He even joined First Take, and they were asking him, "Are you going to join the dunk contest?" He's like, "We'll see." So let's see. Let's hope. We know Obi Toppin is already in, the rookie for the Knicks. So let's see. We're going to have a competitive dunk contest this year. But one more thing I would like to get into with the East reserves. So there was some controversy about whether the Celtics deserve two All-Stars. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And we asked a poll question asking whether the Celtics deserve, two All-Stars. And majority of the audience did say yes, they did. And I disagree, Mr. Kumar. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I thought Jaylen Brown was more deserving of the All-Star. Yeah, 57% said yes, they deserve two All-Stars, to 43% no. I'm in the 43%. And I thought Jaylen Brown should have made it over Jason Tatum.
Okay, I agree and disagree both. Because what I think is Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have been playing at that All-Star level in the East. Performed to their expectations, especially when Kemba Walker has been injured. He's not really playing his A game, and that's probably one of the key reasons the Celtics haven't really performed to their expectations. But if you see Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum both as individuals have been playing really well. So as far as the selection is concerned, if both are playing in different teams, I would have still selected them. If they, but it's just that they're playing for the Celtics, and I feel Jaylen Brown is probably more deserving than Jason Tatum.
Exactly right. And Bhushan, yes, he's responding to Mr. Kumar's comments, both Bradley Beal and Zach LaVine. Well, let's see, Bhushan.
Yeah,
Because they look like they're going to have to pick one. We'll see if the Lakers are going to make
I
trades.
think
Go ahead.
I think yeah, if they have to pursue Bradley Beal and Zach LaVine, I think LeBron would have to go like in a veterans minimum contract or something like that. I mean,
Or they're going to have to get rid of Kuzma and Schroeder and all those kind of guys. And they're going to have to unload their roster. But we'll see, Bhushan. Lakers still have time. I trust the Lakers in the playoffs, but we'll see. But back to the debate about the Celtics. Mr. Kumar, how can you reward a team, though, that's below 500 that's been struggling with 2 All-Stars? I think Jason Tatum is the better player overall, but Jaylen Brown's having the better season, and that's 2 seasons in a row. But I don't know, Mr. Kumar, the Celtics really been struggling. Kemba Walker's been awful. He's building enough bricks to, make a house. Their bench depth is really weak. Like whenever Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown go out and their bench depth, they get outscored because they don't have the necessary bodies to compete. So I think the Celtics are really taking a step back this year, after making the conference finals last year. And I think that's why they don't deserve 2 All-Stars.
See, that's what I'm telling you. It's not about the team. It's more about individual performances that probably gets you selected to the All-Star. So that's why I'm saying Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have been playing like an All-Star. It's just that hasn't resulted in the Celtics winning more games. And one of the major reason is their other star cast has not been performing well enough. Of course, there's Daniel Tays. There's Kemba Walker, who's been injured as well. So yeah, Lakers should add Vishesh Briguanchi ASAP to add to their. We'll come to that. We'll come to that, Bhushan. But I think Briguanchi would probably not even qualify for the G League team of the Lakers. I'm sorry to say that, but he's gotten old. 5 years back, if you say, yeah, maybe he was a great player, but we'll come to that discussion when we move on to the Indian Tadka section. But as I was saying, the All-Star selection is more, about individual performances more than team performance.
Right. No, I agree, but team performance has to take into account, Mr. Kumar. If we don't want Zion in because they have a lower than a 500 record, then we have to take it to the same account for the Celtics. But we can debate this all night, Mr. Kumar, till the sunset. But we have, Bhushan's also asking, Pascal Siakam deserved a spot in the All-Star. Why was he not selected instead of a Boston player? Bhushan, you could have went with anybody, besides, like the 2 Boston players. I would have, picked Pascal. Yes, he's had a bounce back season after struggling last year in the playoffs. You could have picked maybe a Bam Adebayo. I would have been maybe okay with that. You could have, picked a lot of different players. I think there's a lot of players deserving. Tobias Harris, Mr. Kumar, because the Sixers are the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference. So I thought, Jaylen Brown, yes, deserves it. But I thought you could have picked another Eastern Conference player. But, we'll see what's going to happen, Mr. Kumar, going forward with this All-Star voting. But I guess it's time, Mr. Kumar, for our All-Star trivia section. So we're going to be showing a question, on the screen. And me and Mr. Kumar are both going to have to guess the answer for this. And this All-Star trivia is going to be both current, like within the last 10 years, and a little bit of vintage All-Star, like older All-Star. So we'll see. We're going to test me and Mr. Kumar's knowledge of the All-Star history. Yeah. And also everybody in the comments.
Yeah, no, we don't know the questions. We don't know the questions.
No, we don't know the questions. We don't know the questions. And those of you in the audience, if you know the answer to the questions, please put it in the chat section below, and we'll put it, live on the screen. So if we and Mr. Kumar are struggling, audience members, you can help us out. Go feel free to. But let's go. Let's see the first question, Mr. Kumar.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
All right, I'll let you answer this first. Who was the MVP of the 2020 NBA All-Star Game?
It's Leonard, Kawhi Leonard.
Yep. See, Kawhi Leonard. Yep, it looks like we both got it right. All right, 1 for 1 so far. So let's go to question number 2. Who holds a record for the most points in an NBA All-Star game?
Wow. I think I don't know. I think it's Will Chamberlain. I don't know.
Yeah,
Will
I'm gonna go
Chamberlain.
with B. B. Oh,
Oh wow,
Anthony Davis,
David.
LeBron's
Wow.
sidekick, 52 points. All right, let's see question number 3. Who has the most NBA All-Star selections?
I think that would be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Oh, let's see. I think it's Magic Johnson, Mr. Kumar. I think because he's been in the All-Star game multiple years. He had that long stretch.
I thought it was 19 selections for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Let's see. Shazam is
And
Shazam is
probably
LeBron James. Oh,
yes,
Mr. Kumar is
yeah,
right.
Kareem Abdul. Yeah.
Abdul-Jabbar. All right. Let's see.
And I think
question number 4.
LeBron has 17 right now, so he needs 2 more to beat that record or something like that. Yeah.
Right. He's right there. He could beat the record by the end of his career. Who is the youngest NBA All-Star? Kobe.
Is it Kobe or is it LeBron? I don't know. Both got like from high school.
Yeah.
And both I think got selected in the second season. So maybe I'm gonna go with LeBron.
I'm gonna go with Kobe. Let's see it, because you're right. They were both very young. Oh, Kobe. Yeah, it was very close though. Like Mr. Kumar said, they both came out of high school. Yep, Shazam also said Kobe, so we both got it right, Shazam. So let's see the next question. Who has won the most 3-point contest shootouts? Has Steph Curry even been in a?
Yeah, he has. Yes. But I think either it's Larry Bird or I don't know. I mean, that Craig Hodges thing is more like a googly. It's like he's there, so you got to probably take his name. I'm gonna go with Larry Bird.
I'm gonna go with Craig Hodges. Let's see it.
I think it's going to be Craig Hodges just because. Oh, it's both. So we both got it right. Both got it right.
All right. They both got 3. Yeah. Curry did go into a couple 3-point shooting contests. I just don't. They were just a little bit long time ago. So okay, let's see the last question. Who has won the most slam dunk contests?
Ooh.
Has he won 2? He's won 2.
Is it Michael Jordan? I think he has won 3. I think Michael Jordan, right?
Well, I'm gonna go with Levine. Let's see.
I'm gonna go with Michael Jordan.
It's close though, Mr. Kumar, because I know Levine's won a couple. Even Nate Robinson, I think, won 1 or 2. Also,
I definitely know Nate Robinson is 3. Wow.
Nate Robinson. Oh man, the small guy, Nate Robinson. Oh man. So I hope everybody enjoyed, that trivia section and just like testing, our knowledge, the history of the All-Star game. Thank you everybody for, putting your answers in the comment section below. Mr. Kumar will like this comment. Shazam said when we were doing the contest, Mr. Kumar for the win. Well, it looks like we were both tied, Shazam. We'll see, But yeah, Bhushan, yes. Nate Robinson did win the most dunk contest, and he's the smallest guy out of the all the contestants, Mr. Kumar.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, nobody would expect that. Nobody would expect Nate Robinson to have won the maximum slam dunk contest. So right. I guess Kobe Bryant has 2, and Jordan has 2, and Levine has 2 as well, I think.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I don't think Levine's going to do it anymore, but we have some young blood, Obi Toppin, maybe Zion, if he decides to do it, he'll be in, get a couple wins in the dunk contest. We'll see, Mr. Kumar. But that wraps up our NBA All-Star section. And is it time for our favorite part of the show, Mr. Kumar?
Of course. My mouth is salivating, and it is going to be the spiciest section on YouTube, which is the Patel and Kumar NBA Talk Show Indian Tadka section.
Well, we got an extra spicy India Thirka section planned for you today. There's so much Indian basketball news that we have to get to, Mr. Kumar, but we're going to start off with recapping the Indian basketball qualifier games. They ended up beating Iraq, but ended up falling short against Lebanon. And Mr. Kumar, you're there in India. What was your reaction and thoughts after watching these qualifying games?
Well, I mean, of course, uh, the game with Lebanon, nobody expected India to win. We definitely were expecting India to win against Iraq by a considerable margin because they have beaten Iraq by considerable margin in the last, window as well. So it was a little bit of a mixed reaction for me because I think at the end of the day we were a little bit lucky
Defense is a
in
little bit
terms of
loose at the moment from Iraq.
getting that
They double down,
getting
rotating well though to recover.
getting to win. So I mean, it's that buzzer beater was fantastic, and we were lucky, but we were trailing. We were leading by about almost 15 points in that fourth quarter, and then Iraq made a comeback and tied the game. And last minute there was a steal, and of course the buzzer beater by Vishay. So but it's a mixed reaction because I thought India didn't play really well in that game. They should have closed out that game probably much earlier with a much bigger margin.
Right. And, there was a crazy shot by Vishesh, with a little like floater 3-point shot just, beyond the half court line. It was pretty crazy. And the Indian bench went crazy. It was an awesome shot. But yeah, like you said, Mr. Kumar, that yes, they should have closed it out early. They were shooting lights out in the first half, 52% from three. They had 22 assists. They were clicking on all cylinders. Hafiz had a nice game with 22 points. Of course, Vicious gets the spotlight because he made the game winner, but Hafiz played really well this qualifying tournament, Mr. Kumar, and he might be I don't know his age, but he may be an up and coming player, for India. So I think he was very encouraging. You would like to see them close, 15-point lead. I think they just got a little sloppy with the ball, Mr. Kumar. They were taking some bad shots. Getting some bad turnovers, letting Iraq get back in the game. They had some wide open shots. So it was just a tough game. But we have an audience comment says, do you feel against Lebanon, India performed well, especially in the second half? So I'll let Mr. Kumar answer that question.
Oh, well, they did, give a little bit of a fight in that first half by trailing by 10 points. But then, of course, it became a really lopsided affair. I think India did not play the entire game well. And mostly the second half, especially because they had too many turnovers. I think, yeah, and Lebanon had like 30 points out of those 26 turnovers. So that margin is pretty, hard to catch up. I think, we have to win against Lebanon, but I think if they were even able to like keep it to like 15 points. Difference till the end, I think that would have been, a confidence booster for the Indian team. But at the end of the day, I think too many turnovers, too many mistakes, and particularly, especially in this window or the earlier window, I think Vishesh Brigwanshi is getting a little bit old. He needs support, especially from the youngsters, and we need to groom a younger player to take his position because he's not going to be around for too long. He's been, he's had an amazing career with Indian basketball. He's the captain of the Indian team. His contributions are compared to none. But at the end of the day, he is almost getting to that veteran stage, and you need somebody to support him. Especially, he's been taking only 6 or 7 shots each game, and that's not Vishesh Brigwanshi. If he's a top performer, he needs to take maybe 10 or 12 shots and maybe score more points.
Right. I would like to see him be a little bit more aggressive. Maybe that is, due to him being a little bit older and trying to facilitate his, teammates. But speaking against, with the game against Lebanon in the second half, they really struggled, with defense. Lebanon had 26 assists. They were just moving the ball. They were just playing beautiful basketball. India allowed them to have too many open shots, too many, straight line drives to the basket. I think they were fouling them too much. I think India was just a little bit out of sorts. Like Mr. Kumar said, you like to see them fight, because Lebanon is the better team. But I would just like to see them be consistent for the entire game. And you still may have lost, but at least you would have felt better about yourself that, hey, we at least put a good effort. But it's a learning experience for this team. Now they know what it takes to win and be competitive against a really great Lebanon team. And we'll see in the next window, which is coming up, Mr. Kumar, to see how they play. And we have another comment asking, do you guys know anything about Amritpal Singh?
Yeah, I mean, there is a problem with Amritpal Singh because he actually got a provisional, like a ban because of course, there was some testing done and a banned substance was found in his samples. But unfortunately, if I'm not mistaken, I think there's not been like a hearing, to overturn that ban, and that is one of the key reasons why Amritpal is probably not qualified for selection yet. Of course, Satnam Singh has been banned for 2 years by the NADA, which is the National Anti-Doping Agency. But with Amritpal, his hearing is still pending, and that's the reason he's not available to play.
Right. And we have another comment asking, do you feel that in every match, India does fail in maintaining the pace in the second half? So from what I've noticed, at least I'll let Mr. Kumar answer next, but from what I've noticed, they played it great in the first half. They're moving the ball. They have a lot of energy on both ends of the floor. But in the second half, I don't know if they get tired or just adjustments by the other team that they struggle. The performance goes a little bit down on both ends of the floor. They're not as active, don't have as much energy. But I'll let Mr. Kumar, see what he thinks about this because he's more well-versed into Indian basketball than I am, him being in India.
I think it's a combination of both what you pointed out. One is, of course, the conditioning of the Indian players is a little bit suspect in the second half. They need to be more, kind of conditions, equally aggressive in the second half. And the other point is the other teams also make adjustments. If you, I don't know if people noticed in the second window, in the last window in Bahrain against Syria, Moinbek Hafiz had a brilliant first half. And then, there was a defender put on him constantly in that second half, and he was not allowed to score. So that adjustment also doesn't bode well for the Indian team. So it's a little bit of a combination of both. I think Indian team needs to really play a much better second half in each and every game. They're always sometimes leading. They, let the other teams come back. Or in a case like against Lebanon, Lebanon really, took over the game in that second half. And I think, India scored only like maybe 30 points in that second half.
Yeah, it was a struggle, but I think going to Mr. Kumar's point, I would like to see them keep that pace, for the whole game. I know it may due to conditioning, so they need to work on that before the next window. But I would love to see them every time they get a rebound, just run, just try to beat the defense down the floor. Try to get a lot of easy transition buckets because when they play defense, India's a great defensive team. They're very active. They get deflections. They get turnovers, Mr. Kumar, and you see that potential. So I would like them to, not play as much of a half-court game and play more in transition to be able to beat the defense down the floor. And let's see, what's going to happen. And then the last thing is, do you feel India is lagging in a good center player? Of course, they don't have a Principal Singh, Mr. Kumar. So do you think the center position needs to improve?
Oh, well, of course, with Satnam Singh and Amritpal both not in the lineup, it is a concern because they play with Arvind Annadurai and Amjot and Aman Sandhu. Principal is getting some minutes, and he is now because he's in the US with the G Ignite team. So yeah, they're a little bit short-handed in that center position. So yeah, we probably need more reinforcements. But at the same time, it's going to be Indian team is improving. The coach of Lebanon also said every time he meets this Indian team, they're constantly improving.
Right, and that's encouraging. When the opposing coach who scouts against you can see that because how much film coaches watch Mr. Kumar at any level, and they can see that they're getting better. They just need to put it all together. And like Mr. Kumar made such a good point that yes, they're missing their players, but if they're missing some of their main players, it's an opportunity for some young players to step up and make a name for themselves and take that position. So we'll see. India just needs to get back to the lab, watch film, see what they did well, and continue to build on that and see what they can do better and improve. And Hitesh, thank you for watching the show. He's saying, I personally feel that India doesn't play well during down the stretch. How many times have we blown leads, given points during the third quarters? Mr. Kumar already pretty much, said everything that like the third quarters have been a struggle. It's a halftime adjustments. They gave up that big lead against, Iraq. It almost came to bite them, but they ended up, pulling it out. But yes, they struggled down the stretch. But that's just something that they have to improve. The more games that they play down the stretch, the better that they'll be. They need to have that veteran leadership, know who to give the ball, to down the stretch, and who's going to take the last shot.
Yeah, Hitesh. Yes, it is about utilization. As I said, I mean, they are lacking some veteran presence, especially in that center position. So hopefully, once these guys come back into selection, they'll be. Can you comment on Amjot Singh? How was his game, especially in his window? Was that okay or good? I mean, I really have mixed reactions to this because Amjot Singh. I thought Arvind Annadurai played really well.
Mm-hmm.
Moenbeek well. I think Jot and Vishesh both were not really great in this window. You would expect Amjot and Vishesh to perform at a really high level, considering they have so much of experience, especially Amjot, who has also played in the G League. But that was not the case. So, yeah, I would criticize them, and only because I expect better out of them.
Right, because they're such talented players. Like I was watching tape on them, being here in the US, they can do everything. Amjad, played in the G League, if I believe, for the Oklahoma City Blues. So he has a talent. It's just all about putting it together. And he has a nice jump shot. He can attack the basket. He just has a great all-around game. He's a great defender. So I think, we expect more from Amjad. He has these high expectations, and I think we need to see more from him. And Bhushan's asking, we saw the biggest cricket ground in the world. Does the Basketball Association, along with the sports ministry in India, need to improve the infrastructure? So what do you think about that, Mr. Kumar?
Well, I mean, this is a debate that probably all basketball fans have been having for ages together, especially in the Indian scenario. Yes, the infrastructure has to improve, but I don't think it's only the infrastructure. It's just the entire ecosystem of basketball, and especially when they're trying to change, revamp the entire national championship format. Now they're going to have zonal. They're going to have a zonal tournament where, of course, more teams get a chance to play, especially the Northeast states. They're going to have more opportunities to play. So I mean that probably it's a step right direction, because logistically also it makes a lot more sense, because you could be playing locally first, and if you qualify, then you go on to the national championship, where you'll only have about about 15 teams. So they've been divided into 5 zones, and I think 3 teams qualify from each zone. So it's a good format to have, because India is a very big country, and 50 states. 27 states who participate in the national championship. So you have the women, you have the men, and you almost have like 55 teams, culminating in one location, which becomes a logistical problem also. So the zonal thing can really probably help all the lower teams to get more exposure.
Right, it really will, because it'll improve participation. Like Mr. Kumar said, more teams around India with the opportunity to play. They'll have more chance to play in competition. There's going to be a round robin. They're going to play a lot more basketball, so they'll be able to get their competitive shape, and be able to get into basketball shape, because they'll play so many games, and the games will come fast and many. It will also improve the infrastructure, the facilities, the basketball courts, the training facilities. I think that needs to be improved. So I think that's going to be really good. And it gives an opportunity for, these Indian players to be scouted all around the world, in the US, Europe, all around. Because they'll be able to showcase their skills. Maybe somebody from a smaller region will be able to, come to the bigger stage and be like, wow, that player is really good. We've never seen him before. Let's see, so it gets teams a more opportunity and players to play on the big stages and really showcase their skills. And I think this zonal league has been really awesome. And we ran up. Well, let's just answer this question first. Can a domestic league like UBA be seen this year? Is the BFI working on this? So He also asked, yeah, will a domestic league happen in India, Mr. Kumar, in 2021?
I think it's tough in 2021, and I mean, it's hard to even guess if the BFI is working on this, because there were rumors that even the BFI's deal with IMG Reliance might get terminated, and they would have to look for new sponsors or a new company to tie up with in terms of starting a league. Yeah, I mean, I think. I mean, we get this question in each and every episode. I guess you can probably look at the past 2 seasons. Is that in every episode where, when is the professional league going to start? I think that's $1 million question. I think it's more like winning a lottery. So everybody keeps asking, and we got to ask the BFI, when they're going to start a domestic league. Nobody knows. Nobody knows that answer, and all basketball fans, just keep your fingers crossed.
Right. And Hitch is just saying, yes, we need a domestic league. I'll participate and shoot 15 3-pointers in a game. Oh, man. Yes, Indian basketball fans are starving for a domestic league. I want to see a domestic league, being in the U.S. I want to see how it looks. I think it will be very successful. And hopefully, they'll be laying the roots for that. And we also asked, Eklavia has asked a poll question saying, is a new Nationals format good or bad? It looks like 74% say good. I think there's going to be a lot of good on it. Like I said earlier, improve infrastructure, improve more competition, being able to showcase their skills, and be able to highlight Indian basketball, because there's so much talent in Indian basketball, Mr. Kumar, especially in the younger, with the younger generation, that I think it needs to be showcased around the world and in India.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think it'll improve the conditions of basketball. As I said, the ecosystem should improve. So let's hope. But at the same time, there is no coverage of NBA games still in India. There's no live coverage. Of course, we had mentioned to you that there was a tie-up between NBA India and Prasar Bharati, that is Doordarshan. Swanshu Malik, go to the Ekalavya's website, and you will see format. It has the entire details. I'm sorry we can't go about the entire details on this particular show because of paucity of time, but go to the ekalavyas.com, and you'll be able to see the news article and the entire details of the format. But as I was talking, Prasar Bharati and NBA they're going to show classic games, some NBA content, and other stuff, but of course no live games yet. So I feel it's anything is a win-win situation as of now, because ultimately watching live games is what would improve the ratings for NBA, but the season seems to be like no live coverage.
Right. It's a bummer, Mr. Kumar. Like you said, on the Prasar Bharati and the Doordarshan channel, they're going to be showing old NBA classic games, documentaries, championship videos. They're even going to show some NBA TV coverage, hardwood classics, to marquee games. But unfortunately, no live NBA games. But the main reason that they wanted to create this channel was because they wanted to grow the NBA fan base in India. And be able to get fans excited, because we know there's a lot of young basketball fans in India that love the NBA. So hopefully that they'll be able to put the games on. And we have an audience comment that says, congratulations to Shibam and Kumar from commendable comments on y'all's Indian team playing with other teams. Very informative. Keep it up. Yes, that is my Dada, Janti Lal Patel. Thank you, Dada, so much for watching the show, tuning in. He tunes in every episode, but thank you for putting in a comment. Really appreciate it, and we love to see more comments, coming in soon. Thank you, everybody, so much, for watching. We love the audience comments, Mr. Kumar. But yeah, the Prasar Bharati, hopefully they'll be able to play some live NBA games soon, Mr. Kumar.
Yeah, hopefully. Anyway, moving on to the last and final news. I think we couldn't really get get to congratulate Anita Paldurai on winning that Padma Shri.
Congratulations.
It was announced during the Republic Day, and she's the second basketball player to win the Padma Shri after Prashanti Singh, who won it the previous year. So congratulations to Anita Paul-Duray, and thank you very much for your contribution to Indian basketball. And we just hope that there are many more players who go on to win, many more accolades for Indian basketball.
Yes, major congratulations to Anita. It was well deserved. She was a very talented basketball player. She became the youngest ever captain on the women's, India basketball team at 19 years of age in 2004. She has 3 gold medals, Mr. Kumar, with the South Asian Beach Games in 2011, the South Asian Games, or the Asian Games in 2012, and then the 3-on-3 Asian Championships in 2013. So she's such a talented player. This was well deserved. She made Indian basketball a better place among others, and her and others are paving the way for the younger generation of Indian basketball. And she's such an inspiration, Mr. Kumar. So I'm so happy that she was able to get the Padma Shri awards.
Absolutely. So that's pretty much the end of our show tonight. We should be back, I think. No.
I just wanted to answer this one more comment. When will the Prasar birthday start the broadcast, Mr. Kumar? Do you have any ideas on that?
It already started. You can watch NBA content on the Prasar Bharati YouTube channel, and also on DD Sports. They have started showing, some clippets, some classic games and stuff like that. That the engagement has already started. So, that's what I mean. A lot of people even don't know in which channel number is Doordarshan. So we got to go find out. Okay,
go ahead, Mr. Kumar. Apologize for cutting you off.
No. Suyanshu Malik, congratulations to Anita Paul-Duray. Again, a great player from India, and the second woman player to win the Padma Shri Award. Congratulations to Prashanti as well, who actually was the pioneer who paved the path for players like Anita. So congratulations to all. But at the same time, we will be back probably after 2 weeks with the next episode, where we will be talking a little bit about the All-Star game. And hopefully at that time, we are much closer to the trade deadline. So we may be having some trade rumors, so let's hope for some real drama in the trades.
Yeah, so I hope there's a lot of rumors. Let's hope for some juicy drama. Like you said, Mr. Kumar, we're getting close. The NBA season is progressing. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching, putting in the comments. We really enjoyed the engagement. Hope you all enjoyed our All-Star coverage and the trivia. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Patel Pick and Roll Sports YouTube channel. And also like, share, and subscribe to Ekalavyas, where you can watch the show every 2 weeks. Connect with us on the Patel and Kumar Twitter and Instagram page. We love the engagement. Feel free to DM us, ask us any questions. You can watch all the episodes live or on demand on YouTube and Facebook. And I'd like to thank you, Mr. Kumar, for your perspective. And I always enjoy our conversation. So thank you again, everybody, so much.
Absolutely. And we were on a new time today, and we'll announce the next episode date and time very shortly. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. Once again, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channels, the Patel Pick and Roll Sports and the Ekalavyas, and of course on Facebook as well. So thank you, and have a good night, and have a nice work week starting tomorrow.
Yep, have a nice work week. Thank you, everybody. And Khan. NBA All-Star! Woo!